How to invest for beginners. 3 simple rules. Here's something that'll probably shock you about Warren Buffett. The guy who's now worth over $100 billion spent 8 years as a teenager doing everything completely wrong with investing. We're talking about chart reading, trying to time the market, memorizing ticker symbols like they were baseball stats. All the stuff that financial gurus still push today. From age 11 to 19, Buffett was obsessed with stock charts, flipping them upside down, hoping they'd reveal some secret pattern. He could tell you that X was US Steel and T was AT&T, but he had absolutely no clue what these companies actually did or how they made money. Sound familiar? In 1949, everything changed. He picked up a book called The Intelligent Investor by Ben Graham, and it completely rewired his brain. Just 2 chapters in that book gave him what he calls his philosophical framework. 3 simple principles that seem almost too basic to matter, but they've guided every investment decision he's made since. Here's the crazy part. These principles are so simple that most people dismiss them because they're looking for something more complicated, more professional. But Buffett says they're like the 10 commandments of investing. Basic, simple, and absolutely foundational. If you've ever felt confused by all the conflicting investment advice out there, or if you've tried technical analysis and chart reading only to lose money, keep it simple. Because what I'm about to share will cut through all the noise and give you the same clarity that transformed a confused teenager into the world's greatest investor. Section 1. Stop playing games and start owning businesses. Look, here's the painful truth most people refuse to accept. You're probably making the same mistake Buffett made for 8 years. You're treating stocks like lottery tickets instead of what they actually are, pieces of real businesses. The solution sounds almost insultingly simple, but it changes everything. A stock isn't some magical piece of paper that goes up and down based on charts and patterns. It's literally a slice of ownership in a real company with real employees, real customers, and real profits. When Buffett finally understood this, he stopped asking, will this stock go up tomorrow? And started asking, what kind of business am I buying? What are its economic characteristics? Who are its competitors? How good is management? These are the questions you'd ask if you were buying the entire company, which is exactly how you should think about every stock purchase. There's an ancient Babylonian principle that wealthy merchants understood. He who knows the way of trade becomes the owner of many goods. The Babylonians didn't speculate on price movements. They studied trade routes, understood supply and demand, and invested in the underlying commerce. They bought pieces of profitable enterprises, not gambling tickets. Here's your actionable step that changes everything. Before buying any stock, spend at least 1 hour researching the actual business. Read their annual report, understand how they make money, and figure out what gives them an advantage over competitors. If you can't explain their business model to a 12-year-old in 2 minutes, don't buy it. Let's get specific with numbers. If you invest $500 a month in businesses you actually understand, companies like Apple, Microsoft, Walmart, companies whose products you use daily, and you focus on long-term ownership instead of short-term price movements, historical returns suggest that money could grow to over $1.2 million in 30 years. A village blacksmith was struggling to make ends meet, constantly worried about the price of iron. An old merchant visited and asked, "Do you spend more time watching iron prices or making things people need?" The blacksmith realized he'd been so focused on commodity prices that he'd forgotten about his real business, creating value for customers. The principle that transformed everything. When you own quality businesses that serve real needs, temporary price fluctuations become irrelevant noise. What specific companies do you interact with daily that you've never actually researched as businesses? Drop a comment with one company name, and let's start thinking like owners instead of speculators. Section 2. Embrace Mr. Market's madness instead of fighting it. Here's what drives most people crazy about the stock market. The prices seem to make no sense. One day, a company is worth $100 per share. 6 months later, it's $50, then back to $120. Same company, same business, wildly different prices. Most people think this volatility is the enemy, but Buffett learned it's actually your greatest advantage. The solution is understanding that the market isn't there to teach you anything. It's there to serve you when you want to be served. Ben Graham created this brilliant metaphor called Mr. Market that changes how you see every price movement. Imagine you own a gas station with a partner named Mr. Market. Every single day, this guy shows up and offers to either buy your half of the business or sell you his half at whatever price strikes his fancy that day. Some days he's drunk, some days he's depressed, some days he's irrationally excited. The beautiful thing is, you never have to accept his offer. You can just ignore him completely. Mr. Market is basically an alcoholic manic depressive who wanders around naming crazy prices all day long. You have zero moral obligation to pay attention to him except when it serves your advantage. Maybe once a year, maybe once every 5 years. He'll name a price so ridiculously low or high that you'll want to deal with him. The rest of the time, you just let him babble. Here's what blows people's minds. If you look at any major American company over the past year, you'll find cases where the high price was literally double the low price. Same business, same fundamentals, but Mr. Market's mood swings created a 100% price range. Try to find a farm or apartment building that fluctuates like that. It's impossible. Physical assets don't have bipolar pricing, but stocks do. The ancient Stoic philosophers understood this principle perfectly. Marcus Aurelius wrote about controlling what you can control and ignoring what you can't. You can't control Mr. Market's daily moods, but you can control when and how you respond to them. Your actionable strategy: create a wish list of quality businesses you'd love to own, then calculate what you think they're actually worth based on their fundamentals. When Mr. Market gets depressed and offers you these businesses at 30 to 50% discounts to their real value, that's when you buy. When he gets manic and offers to pay you 50 to 100% more than they're worth, that's when you consider selling. A farmer was asked how he dealt with constantly changing grain prices. He replied, "I don't let the market's daily emotions affect my farming decisions. When prices are unreasonably low, I store my grain. When they're unreasonably high, I sell. But I never let the market's mood swings change my understanding of what good farmland is worth." The stock doesn't know you own it, and it has no feelings about you. But you can have very rational feelings about when to buy and sell based on value, not emotion. What's one quality company you've always wanted to own but thought was too expensive? Comment on the name below. Let's see if Mr. Market might give us a better price during his next mood swing. Section 3. The margin of safety. Your insurance against being wrong. Here's the investing principle that could save you from every major mistake you're likely to make. It's called margin of safety, and it's the difference between smart investing and expensive gambling. The solution is beautifully simple, but most people ignore it because they get greedy. If you're driving a 9,800-pound truck and you come to a bridge marked 10,000-pound capacity, you don't drive across it. You find another bridge with a much higher weight limit, or you unload some cargo first. Investing works exactly the same way. You never want to pay a price that requires everything to go perfectly for you to make money. You want to pay a price so reasonable that even if you're somewhat wrong about the business, you'll still do fine. But here's where it gets deeper than just buying cheap stocks. Buffett talks about buying businesses with enduring competitive advantages. Companies with economic moats around their castles. Because capitalism is literally a system where everyone's trying to attack everyone else's profitable business. Think about it this way. If you open a successful restaurant in your town, what happens? Somebody's going to copy your menu, maybe steal your chef, offer better parking, cut your prices. That's capitalism working exactly as designed, going after the other guy's castle. The Jewish Talmud teaches about this principle in business. The wise merchant builds his storehouse on high ground, away from both floods and raiders. They understood that true wealth comes from positioning yourself where competitors can't easily reach you. Your actionable approach. Look for businesses that have built moats around their castles. Coca-Cola has 6 billion people worldwide with favorable thoughts about their brand in their heads. Try to replicate that with RC Cola, even if you spent $1 billion advertising. Apple has created an ecosystem where switching to Android means losing your photos, messages, and apps. That's a switching cost moat. Here's a specific framework. Never buy a stock unless you can get it for at least 30% less than what you think it's actually worth. If you think a business is worth $100 per share, don't buy it for more than $70. This gives you room to be wrong about timing, valuation, or business fundamentals. The ancient Chinese general Sun Tzu wrote about this principle in warfare. He who knows when to fight and when not to fight will be victorious. In investing, this means having the discipline to wait for opportunities where the odds are heavily stacked in your favor. A master archer was asked how he hit the target so consistently. "I never shoot unless I'm close enough that missing would be nearly impossible," he replied. The amateur archer shoots from any distance and hopes for luck. The master archer waits for certainty. Warren Buffett has used these 3 principles: business ownership thinking, leveraging Mr. Market's volatility, and demanding a margin of safety to build one of the greatest fortunes in human history. They're simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. It takes discipline to wait for the right opportunities. Look, here's what took Warren Buffett 8 years of mistakes to figure out. Successful investing isn't about being clever, it's about being disciplined. Those 3 principles he learned from Ben Graham's book became the foundation for everything he's done since. Think like a business owner, use market volatility to your advantage, and always demand a margin of safety. The beautiful thing about these principles is they're not just timeless. They're also simple enough that anyone can apply them. You don't need a finance degree. You don't need to understand complex derivatives, and you definitely don't need to stare at charts all day like teenage Buffett did. If even one thing I've shared today makes you realize that successful investing is about patience and discipline, rather than prediction and timing, I want you to make yourself a commitment right now. This week, pick one business you interact with regularly and spend an hour researching it, like you're buying the whole company. Comment business owner mindset if you're ready to stop gambling on price movements and start thinking like Warren Buffett, as an owner of quality businesses with competitive moats. And if you want me to break down specific companies using these 3 principles, let me know which businesses you'd like analyzed in the comments below. Remember what that master archer understood. Success comes not from taking every shot, but from waiting for the shots you can't miss. Your wealth building journey starts with one simple shift, from speculator to owner.